Did you know that in just 2 weeks without the right nutrients, your leg muscles can lose up to 10% of their strength? And here's the scary part. Sometimes they never fully recover. If you've been waking up at night with painful cramps, or you feel like your legs don't belong to you when you stand up, I want you to listen closely, because this might be the most important conversation you've had about your health in years. You might think these cramps and that unsteady feeling are just part of getting older. Everyone says, well, it happens with age. But what if I told you that's not true? What if I told you there are 7 specific vitamins and minerals that, when your body finally gets enough of them, can stop those nighttime cramps and give you back the kind of strength and confidence you thought you'd lost for good? Wouldn't you want to know exactly what they are? In a few minutes, I'm going to share them with you. And I'll tell you how people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s have used them to walk more steadily, sleep without those awful calf spasms, and enjoy their mornings without fear of falling. But before we get to the list, let me take you into the life of someone who thought there was no way back. Her name is Evelyn. She's 78. And the day I met her, she was too afraid to step down a flight of stairs. What happened next completely changed her life. And it might just change yours too. When I first saw Evelyn, she was holding onto her son's arm so tightly you'd think the floor might give way at any second. Her legs were shaking, her eyes darting down as if each step might betray her. Have you ever felt that sudden wave of fear when your body doesn't do what you expect it to? When just getting from the couch to the kitchen feels like crossing a river on a rope bridge? Evelyn told me, "Doctor, I don't understand. I eat every day. I try to walk a little, but I'm getting weaker." Her son stepped in quietly. "She used to be so strong. But ever since Dad passed away, she stays inside. Little by little, she's moving less. She just thinks it's old age." Does that sound familiar to you? Maybe you've said the same thing yourself or heard it from a friend, that you just have to accept it. But I want you to think about something. What if this isn't about age at all? What if your body is simply missing the fuel it needs to keep your muscles and nerves working smoothly? When I asked Evelyn what she'd been eating, she admitted it was mostly white bread and cheese, barely any green vegetables, and almost no milk. She skipped breakfast most mornings because she didn't feel hungry. And here's what most people don't realize. Nearly half of all older adults are low in at least one of the vitamins or minerals that keep legs strong and cramps away. So, what happened when Evelyn started giving her body exactly what it was missing? That's the part I'll share in a moment. But before you hear the change in her steps, you need to know the first nutrient her body was begging for, and why it might be the same one your body is missing right now. The first thing Evelyn's body needed, and the first thing your body might be silently craving, was vitamin B12. I often explain it like this. Think of the nerves in your legs as electric cables running from your brain all the way down to your toes. When you're young, those cables have a thick, strong layer of insulation. Signals travel fast, your muscles respond instantly, and you don't even think about it. But over time, especially after 60, that protective layer starts to wear thin. Without enough B12, it frays, the signals slow, and your muscles don't always get the message. Have you ever tried to stand up from a chair and felt like your legs just didn't get the memo? For Evelyn, the signs were all there: the shaking, the unsteadiness, the creeping loss of confidence. And here's the tricky part. You can eat regular meals and still be low in B12, because as you age, your stomach produces less acid to absorb it. Even certain medications, common ones for heartburn, diabetes, or high blood pressure, can quietly drain your B12 stores day after day. So how do you know if this is happening to you? Maybe you've noticed a tingling in your feet, or that ants crawling sensation in your calves. Maybe your legs feel heavy, or you get dizzy when you stand too quickly. These aren't just annoyances. They're warning lights on the dashboard, telling you your nerve connections need help. When Evelyn started adding small amounts of B12-rich foods to her day, a boiled egg at breakfast, some green vegetables with lunch, a spoonful of yogurt even when she didn't feel hungry. Something shifted. Not instantly, not overnight. But slowly, she began to walk with less hesitation. Her steps were still cautious, but the fear wasn't gripping her shoulders the way it used to. Now, you might be wondering, if B12 helps repair the nerve cables, what about the muscles themselves? How do you make sure they're strong enough to carry you once those signals are flowing again? That's where the second nutrient comes in, and this one you can get for free if you know when and where to look for it. The second nutrient is something you can get without stepping into a pharmacy, without ordering a single pill. You carry the ability to make it inside your skin. Vitamin D. It's the key that lets your body pull calcium into your bones and muscles, keeping them strong enough to hold you steady. But here's the part almost nobody tells you. As you age, your skin's ability to make vitamin D drops sharply. That means even if you spend the same amount of time outside as you did years ago, you're probably making far less of it now. Have you noticed your legs feeling heavy when you climb stairs, or that you're more tired after walking the same distance you used to breeze through? That's not just getting older. Low vitamin D doesn't just make bones fragile. It drains the strength from your muscles. You might not connect that weakness with a nutrient, but I've seen it over and over again in my patients. The fix doesn't have to be complicated. Evelyn began by sitting outside in her backyard for 10 to 15 minutes each morning, just letting the gentle sunlight touch her arms and face. No harsh midday heat, no hours of sunbathing. Just a short daily routine, like watering the plants or reading the newspaper. She also added foods rich in vitamin D, a small portion of salmon, some fortified milk, and slowly she noticed a difference. You might be wondering, but can I really feel a change that quickly? For many, yes. I've had patients tell me that within a few weeks of raising their vitamin D levels, their legs felt steadier, their energy lasted longer through the day, and they could stand up from a chair without that subtle wobble. Now here's where it gets interesting. Even with strong nerves and stronger muscles, there's still a silent culprit behind many nighttime leg cramps. You can have all the B12 and D you want, but if you're missing this third nutrient, those cramps can still snap you awake at 2 a.m., leaving your calf locked in pain. Evelyn knew exactly what that felt like. One night before she started her full plan, she called her son into the room, tears in her eyes, because a cramp had clenched her legs so hard she thought something had torn. That pain wasn't from weak bones or frayed nerves. It was from missing this one quiet mineral. And here's the good news. It's in foods you probably already have in your kitchen. But most people don't eat enough of them, especially as they get older. This next nutrient works like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure your muscles contract and relax in perfect rhythm. Without it, the music stops, and the cramps begin. That quiet mineral is magnesium. Most people don't think about it until their body forces them to, usually in the middle of the night, when a cramp hits so hard it pulls you out of sleep. Have you ever shot out of bed clutching your calf, trying to massage the pain away, only to feel that soreness linger the next morning? That's magnesium calling out for attention. Magnesium is like the conductor of your muscles. It tells them when to tighten, when to relax, and how to move without jerking or seizing up. Without enough of it, your muscles can spasm at the wrong time, like when you're lying still in bed, and hold that spasm long enough to make you gasp. I've seen it happen to people who are otherwise healthy, eating 3 meals a day. But here's the twist. Magnesium hides in foods we often don't eat enough of, and it's easily drained by stress, certain medications, and even too much coffee. When I asked Evelyn about cramps, she didn't even call them cramps at first. She said, "Sometimes it feels like my muscle turns to stone and won't let go." If you've ever felt that, you know it's more than a nuisance. It's a thief that steals your sleep, your energy, and your confidence to move freely the next day. So how do you give your body more magnesium? Evelyn's first step was adding a small handful of pumpkin seeds or almonds to her afternoon. She began cooking more with leafy greens, spinach, Swiss chard, and even made a habit of eating half a banana before bed. Within 2 weeks, those sharp midnight cramps began to fade. By the 3rd week, they were gone. Imagine that, going from dreading the night to actually looking forward to a good, uninterrupted sleep. But magnesium didn't just stop the cramps. It worked hand in hand with the B12 and D she was already getting. Her legs weren't just pain-free, they were starting to feel alive again. Now you might think we've solved the problem by fixing nerves, muscles, and cramps, but there's more to the picture. Because muscles don't work in isolation. They rely on an electrical balance in your body, and when that balance tips too far in one direction, cramps can come back, weakness can creep in, and even your heart rhythm can be affected. That's where the 4th nutrient steps in. It's one you've probably heard about for heart health, but it's just as vital for the way your legs move and the way your balance feels. And here's the best part. You can start restoring it with foods you might already enjoy every week. In Evelyn's case, adding it back was like flipping the power switch on her body's control panel. That power switch is potassium. Think of it as the battery pack that keeps your muscles charged and ready to respond. Without enough potassium, your muscles can't contract or relax the way they should, and your nerves can't send clear instructions. The result? Fatigue, weakness, and yes, cramps that can strike even when you think you're doing everything right. Here's the surprising part. You can have low potassium even if you're eating well. Many seniors lose it faster than they realize, especially if they take diuretics for blood pressure or heart issues. Every trip to the bathroom pulls a little more potassium out of your system, and the symptoms can sneak up on you. Have you felt more tired than usual after a short walk? Do your legs feel heavy, like you're carrying weights in your calves? That might be your body's way of saying the battery is running low. For Evelyn, potassium was the missing link that tied everything together. She didn't need to take a supplement right away. Instead, she started adding potassium-rich foods to her meals. A baked sweet potato with dinner, an orange with breakfast, a side of beans in her salads. The changes were simple, but the effect was powerful. Her legs didn't just feel stronger. She noticed she wasn't gasping for breath as much on the stairs, and she could carry her groceries in from the car without needing to stop halfway. And here's something else worth thinking about. Potassium doesn't work alone. It partners closely with calcium, making sure the electrical signals in your muscles actually translate into movement. Without enough calcium, it's like having a charged battery, but no working motor. So if you've ever wondered why your legs still feel unstable even when you're eating well, it could be that you're missing the motor to go with your battery. In Evelyn's case, restoring potassium was like lighting up the control board, but she still needed calcium to make those lights mean something. And calcium, that's our next stop, might just be the most famous nutrient in the world. But most people still don't know how it truly works in your legs, or how easy it is to lose it without noticing. Calcium. You've heard about it your whole life. Drink your milk, eat your cheese, keep your bones strong. But here's the thing no one really explains. Calcium isn't just for bones. It's also the spark that makes your muscles move. Every time you take a step, every time your calf contracts to lift you onto a stair, calcium floods into the muscle fibers to make that movement possible. Without enough of it, those fibers can't fire properly. You might feel unsteady, or like your legs don't quite respond when you want them to. Have you ever been walking and suddenly felt as though your legs hesitated under you for just a second? That tiny pause could be a sign your calcium is running low. And it doesn't matter if you had enough when you were younger, your needs change as you age. Poor absorption, certain medications, and even low vitamin D can all quietly drain your calcium stores without you realizing it. For Evelyn, calcium was the piece that made everything she was doing finally click. She was already improving her B12, her D, her magnesium, and her potassium. But when she started adding calcium-rich foods, A small cup of yogurt in the morning, steamed kale with dinner, a sprinkle of cheese on her lunch. Something shifted again. Her steps felt more solid. She could stand from her favorite armchair without pushing down so hard on the armrests. And here's the part that most people overlook. Calcium works best when it's paired with another nutrient that makes sure it actually goes to the right place, into your bones and muscles, not settling where it shouldn't. That's where the next mineral comes in. It's not as famous as calcium, but without it, your body's repair process slows down, and your muscles can take longer to recover from even the smallest strain. When Evelyn added this next nutrient, her progress accelerated. It was like the difference between walking uphill with the wind in your face and walking with the wind at your back. You still have to move, but suddenly, every step feels easier. So what is this overlooked helper? You might already be eating it without realizing, but most people aren't getting enough to make a real difference. That overlooked helper is zinc. You might think of it as the immune system mineral, something people take in the winter to fight colds. But zinc does much more than that. It's part of the repair crew that keeps your muscles and tissues in working order. Every time you take a walk, climb stairs, or even stand up from a chair, your muscle fibers experience tiny amounts of stress. If you have enough zinc, your body repairs those fibers quickly, making them stronger over time. But if you're low, the repairs take longer, and your muscles can feel sore or sluggish for days. Have you noticed that you get tired faster after doing chores you used to handle easily? Or that you feel sore longer after just a short walk? That might not be old age at all. It could be your body waiting on the materials it needs to fix itself. Zinc is one of those materials, and without it, the rebuilding process slows to a crawl. Evelyn didn't think zinc had anything to do with her legs. But when she added zinc-rich foods, a few ounces of seafood once or twice a week, some lean beef or a scoop of beans in her salad, she noticed something subtle but powerful. The little aches she used to feel the next day after walking around the block, they were gone. She had more energy to keep moving, which meant she could do more without worrying she'd pay for it later. And here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Because as important as zinc was, there was one final nutrient that tied all of this together. It was the finishing touch that kept the calcium going exactly where it needed to go, and away from where it could cause harm. This nutrient isn't talked about much in everyday conversation, but a new study has shown it can actually reduce the frequency and severity of nighttime leg cramps in older adults. When Evelyn added this last piece to her routine, it was like locking in all the progress she'd made. She didn't just stop having cramps. She started waking up with a quiet sense of confidence that her legs were ready for whatever the day held. You'll see why in just a moment, because this final nutrient may surprise you. That surprising final piece is vitamin K2. Most people never even hear about it unless they've been deep into reading nutrition labels or specialized health articles. But K2 is the traffic director for calcium. Without it, calcium can drift to the wrong places, your arteries, your joints, instead of being built into your bones and muscles where you need it most. When K2 is there, it signals calcium. Go here, strengthen this, make it solid. Now you might be wondering, what does that have to do with cramps? A new study on older adults found that supplementing with K2 reduced not only the frequency of nighttime leg cramps, but also how intense and how long they lasted. Imagine waking up fewer times a week, or not at all, because your muscles are no longer locking up in pain. Evelyn didn't start with K2. In fact, she almost skipped it, thinking, I'm already taking calcium, isn't that enough? But when she added it in, through small portions of cheese, a couple of eggs a week, and even a Japanese dish called natto, she noticed something remarkable. It wasn't just that the cramps stayed away. Her legs felt solid from the moment she stood up in the morning, like the foundation beneath her had been rebuilt. By this point, she'd gone from clinging to her son's arm on the stairs to walking down confidently, one step at a time, no pause, no fear. I remember her smiling when she told me, "I feel like I've been given my legs back." And I couldn't help but think, that's exactly what happens when your body finally gets all 7 of these nutrients working together. Now, here's the part I want you to hold on to. This isn't magic, and it doesn't happen overnight. But it's not years away either. Evelyn began noticing changes in days, saw clear improvements in weeks, and locked them in over a few months. And she didn't spend a fortune or take complicated pills. She just gave her body what it had been missing. So with B12 repairing the nerve wires, vitamin D and calcium keeping the structure strong, magnesium and potassium making the muscles work smoothly, zinc speeding the repair process, and K2 directing the traffic. What does life look like when all of that is finally in place? That's where I want to take you next, because this is where the story shifts from a list of nutrients to the kind of life you can have when your legs are steady, your nights are quiet, and your independence feels within reach again. Picture this. You wake up in the morning and slide your feet to the floor. No stabbing cramp twisting your calf. No hesitation before you take that first step. You stand up and your legs feel steady. You walk toward the kitchen without glancing at the wall for support, without wondering if your knees will give way halfway there. That's what happens when your body finally has all 7 of these nutrients working together. Evelyn's story isn't just about her. It's about what's possible for you. She went from clutching her son's arm to strolling through her garden, from waking in pain 3 times a night to sleeping straight through until sunrise, from believing her independence was gone to realizing it had been waiting for her all along. And the truth is, she didn't do anything you can't do. She didn't run marathons or overhaul her life in one big leap. She started with one nutrient, then another, making simple changes she could stick with. Over weeks, those small steps turned into a transformation. So, let me ask you, what would change for you if your nights were calm, your mornings were steady, and your legs felt strong enough to take you anywhere you wanted to go? Would you finally visit that friend across town? Spend more time in the garden? Take those stairs without a second thought? Because the answer isn't buried in some secret pill. It's right here, in the choices you make each day. And in a moment, I'll show you exactly how to start. Today, without waiting for tomorrow. Now you know the 7 nutrients that can stop those nighttime cramps, rebuild your strength, and help you trust your legs again. But knowing isn't enough. The change starts when you take that first small step. So here's my challenge to you. Pick just one of these nutrients and start today. Maybe it's a boiled egg at breakfast, 10 minutes of gentle morning sunlight, a handful of pumpkin seeds in the afternoon. Whatever it is, make it something so simple you can't fail. You might be thinking, but will I really notice a difference? Evelyn asked the same thing. And the answer is yes. Not because of luck, but because your body is designed to respond when it finally gets what it needs. Imagine 2 weeks from now, waking up with fewer cramps. A month from now, walking to the mailbox without grabbing the railing. 3 months from now, climbing those stairs with a smile instead of a grimace. If you're ready to start, tell me in the comments, I am ready to change. I read every message, and I'll do my best to guide you. Share this with a friend, a sister, a neighbor who's been struggling. Because sometimes one piece of information, one tiny change, can open the door to a whole new chapter. And if you want to take the next step, my upcoming video will walk you through 5 simple exercises to make your legs even stronger. So don't wait. Start now, and let's see just how far your legs can carry you.